Okay, we are recording. Okay.
This meeting is being recorded.
It is. That is true. This meeting is being recorded. Welcome to the second 2022 Fuck Shit Up Committee meeting. Very excited to be here. We have guests today from the membership committee, Cole and Colleen. They're going to talk about whatever they're going to talk about, and then depending on how much time we have after that gets fucked up, then we will move on to potentially one or two other agenda items. In the attempt of creating some structure, we're recording the calls. I'm sending out an email as soon as the meeting is over with the video of the call that no one will watch. A link about the meeting effectiveness that hopefully people will fill out. Our next meeting, just as a reminder, is May 10th, where Ingrid from the conflict resolution will be joining us. For any members here who, I think everyone here was here last time, but just in case some new person's procrastinating and watching the recording, Jo Beth is being fabulous in helping me getting individual and group texts out to remind folks, because doodles and emails is not the ideal way of communicating with this group, but it is the tools that I have at my fingertips. We'll be sending out a doodle probably at the end of April or early May for June, July, August dates, so that we can do one, hopefully two things per meeting per month. So thank you very much for being here today. And I guess, are there any thoughts or comments in general about anything? Beth or Jo Beth, do you have anything to report before I turn it over to Colleen and Cole?
I do not.
Fantastic. You're amazing and incredible. Okay, and Jen, you don't have much of a voice. No big deal. You can always chat it or you can text me directly and I will voice whatever you would like to say. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Colleen and Cole from the membership committee. Hit it. Welcome to the Fuck Shit Up Committee.
Hi, thanks for having us.
Yeah, it's good to be back.
So I'm Colleen, that's Cole. Cole and I are both also on the National Board of Directors, and we are co-chairing the membership committee. It's our first time chairing anything, so we figured we'd do it together. Very much.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm for those who don't know us, I am in New Orleans. I was the vice president and the president and the vice president again here before hopping on over to the national board. I'm in my third year on the national board. I was also briefly on the NCC, the National Council of Chapters. Used to be a pretty regular fixture on these calls too. So kind of been all over the place the last few years. And the membership committee, Colleen and I both joined the membership committee when we were first board members. We were elected in the same year, so we're both in our third year. And it's an interesting experience. There's a lot that kind of goes on there. Some of it's just a lot of like housekeeping stuff. We'll review the membership reports, like see what kind of the demographic information that we're collecting now. But even that was a project unto itself. Was beginning to collect demographic data for our membership. So we can sort of analyze it and identify where we're doing well in recruitment, where we're not. And having that information is really valuable as we sort of try to address some of our blind spots as an organization, just having fewer blind spots as an organization.
This is a very new thing. So anybody who just rejoined or just joined for the first time, this year is the first time we've ever truly collected that information. Before it was simply like, are you over 21? Like, and that was pretty much where the information they got were. And we realized that we didn't really have a great understanding of what our membership base looked like outside of the chapters that we were in. So it's been really neat. We found out a few really interesting things. I think one, that our general member is older than we expected, and have been in service for longer. We always thought it was a younger demographic, and it's not. It's actually people, for the most part, the highest percentage is people in their young to middle 30s, which I thought was very interesting. And Also, yeah. Sorry, to interrupt, Cole.
No, I didn't. I wasn't about to say anything. Just making faces. But a lot of like some of it again, it's a lot of like housekeeping stuff. We're looking at membership data, trying to figure out how we can support. Primarily, what we're trying to do is figure out how we can support chapters in recruiting and retaining the kind of members that we want to have, which are, can vary from chapter to chapter, depending on who you've already got in the mix in your chapter. Maybe you want to be like, oh, you're doing really well with cocktail bartenders, but you'd rather get into the clubs, or you're doing okay with relatively green, like new to the scene bartenders, but you want to sort of get more veteran voices in the mix. There's so figuring out how we can support the chapters in their recruitment and retention is something we'd like to honestly get better at both as a guild as a whole, but on the membership committee. So one of the things we want out of this group is what is like for a membership committee. It's kind of like assisting with recruitment and retention is basically what we're trying to do. So how can we do that for you? What do the members need from us? What do the local leaders need from us? How can we help make this organization better as a committee? Any thoughts, any spitball ideas? We'd love to hear them. Colleen and I, again, both being relatively new to the leadership of this committee, we want to be able to find good ideas wherever they come from. So this seemed like a good opportunity to suss that out a little bit.
Awesome. Anybody want to start with some ideas of where to reach potential members, past members, members that necessarily haven't been targeted before or recently? Floor is open.
This is Joe Beth. This kind of goes along with membership, but also another topic that we were going to have regarding money. A lot of the people here in Chicago, we actually have a pretty good mix across the board of ages and people who have been in the business for a long time. And it seems like a lot of those are the people who are coming to meetings, but we need to get more of the younger bartenders and the bartenders who are frankly in communities that don't see us. But a barrier to getting people to actually join is the membership fee, because if they're at a smaller bar, if they've got a family, or if they're just, in a place where, they're not downtown, so they're not pulling home, at least a couple $100 a night in tips, that $125 membership fee for them is very daunting. So I would say, from what we have discussed locally and on in this committee, that is our biggest deterrent.
Okay. I mean, that's it. That is something that we've discussed pretty extensively, is that there is a cost barrier to entry for the guild as a whole, which makes it sometimes a little bit more elitist than we would like it to be as an organization. Because if only people who can afford to meet that barrier are in the guild, then that is a group that has likely meets other characteristics. And it's like, we would like to be able to meet people and be a value for people for whom $125 is a lot of money. And I think the leadership in the past, I think currently we're all pretty aware that is a lot of money for some people, and that is that's worthy of talking about. I think there was in past, some of the leadership was a little blithe, I think, about how like, oh, it's $125. A lot of our members just spend that on a night out. It's like, yeah, but that's because, that's our already self-selected group of members who are a certain type of bartender in a certain economic demographic that maybe can afford to spend $125 on a night out. But for those who can't, they're not the ones who were here. So it became a self-fulfilling prophecy to a certain extent. I will say there are some tools that you can use. You can, at any point, any of the chapter leaders can request discount codes from the staff in an amount that you can sort of determine among your, between you and the staff. And I think you can get up to 10 a year or something like that, but I'm pretty sure they're flexible on that. And so you can use that. You can also use your chapter funds to help get people in the guild. If your chapter and the guild as a whole is proving its value for people, then getting those first people in the door, like hopefully if they're putting the skills and the information that they're getting in the guild to good use, then next year $125 won't be such a daunting amount of money for them. But getting them that first year in the door to start receiving that value, like you can discount somebody, you can pay for people's memberships as a chapter. Now there's some risk there because you don't want necessarily the chapter, like people don't necessarily see the value in something they didn't pay for. So maybe a steep discount is a better way to theoretically retain that member for future years than 100% discount. But it's your call. We've done that in the New Orleans chapter before, where we had really active volunteers in the community who were really eager to join the guild but couldn't afford it the first year, and then you pay for the first year, and then hopefully they can pay for it the next year if the guild has done its job of sort of helping them become a higher earning bartender, which I think should be one of our mandates. Also, the other thing I want to mention is that the April there is a discount code that you can use. I think it's like Spring 20 or something like that. It's on the landing page.
Spring 22, yeah.
Spring 22. Okay. It's designed for rejoining members, right? So like the first few months of the year, you're focusing on the members that are in your community already, that have gone out of your way and joined. The April window is the spring rejoin drive is to try to get people who have been in the guild before to get them to rejoin, and you give them a discount because they're missing, a quarter of the year if they're joining in April. But that same discount, I think, can be used by new members. I'm pretty sure. It's not designed for that, but you can offer it to new members. So there's already, like right now, there's a discount. And then starting in July, because anybody who joins in July or rejoins in July will get their membership for the rest of the year and the entirety of the next year. So you're getting, 18 months of value for 12 months worth of membership fees. So that's not necessarily a discount. It's the same $125. And if that's a barrier for 12 months, it's probably just as easily a barrier for 18 months, but it is an increased value. So you can use that as a selling point. But yeah, recognizing that the cost being a barrier to entry for people is something that we need to take seriously as an organization. But there are things already that we can do to work through that.
Yeah, Cole, just hold on one second. So Colleen and Raul, I see your hands. Also, Paula just joined us, and this is her first Fuck Shit Up meeting. So I'm just gonna put a little pin in something for a second and say, hi, Paula, welcome.
Thank you.
The first topic, just so you know, and then I'll catch you up to date, but the first topic is we have Colleen and Cole from the membership committee joining us. And the question that they're the co-chairs of the membership committee, and the question that they have put forth to get fucked up by this group is, how do you recruit and or potentially retain different members than we currently have, past, new, never solicited before, etc. Joe Beth mentioned the first big barrier is $125 membership dues is a barrier for some. And then you came in the middle of kind of Cole explaining kind of how that's being addressed and it's being taken.
Yeah, sorry, I was in Midtown, and I guess you've heard about the shooting and everything's a disaster with the train, so I was a little late.
Yeah, no worries. And welcome to Fuck Shit Up. You get to do whatever you want, stay as long as you want, show up whenever you want. So I know Colleen had her finger up, Raul has her hand up. And then I also want to point out that I put into the chat with the membership committee, and one of the agenda items to talk about today is a kind of toolkit that we started kind of drafting up that may or may not be part of the CHOPS manual that eventually goes out to chapters. And we came up with this very long list. It is probably not exhaustive. It might even be repetitive, of different audiences for potential members. So I put it in the chat to kind of get some people possibly thinking as well. So because our guests are the co-chairs, I'm going to go to Colleen first, and then Raul, you're next. Anybody else who wants to talk in, jump in after Raul. Colleen, okay. The floor is yours.
No, I was just going to say, one of the things that we do on the membership committee is that we do an annual revision of the membership toolkit that goes out to chapter officers, and maybe just thinking about the cost barrier, maybe we can do a highliner, like a one-sheeter on basically best practices if a chapter wants to start sponsoring or getting sponsored memberships for their own chapters. Like there are things that we can do and things that we can't do. there are some like you can't just have a brand come in and pay for an individual member, right? The brand can't be like, I'm going to pay for so-and-so to join the guild. But what you can do is have a brand sponsor several memberships and not be able to just dictate who they go to. And so that is like a legal way to get around getting sponsored memberships, as well as your own chapter deciding to do, if they wanted to do heavy fundraising, to do some kind of a discount. But like, I think it might be a good idea, since we're about to get into toolkit revision for this year. We haven't done, we kind of do it biannually because it's a big chunk of work. So, so I think that could, if you guys think that would be helpful, of like the legal and also try to get some best practice information together and include that in the toolkit for the chapters. If you guys think that would be helpful? So essentially, just to make sure, one, you don't break laws, because that sucks, and yeah, and two, give some helpful information. And that's all I had to say, Ralph.
Oh,
Get myself off mute there. Yeah. So just in regards again to the cost issue and Joe Beth's comment there. So one idea we're working on and working through, and I want to lab it out and have it written out. And then the other idea we've actually put into practice in Las Vegas. So we did a thing called Pay It Forward. We had a member come forward to us, and privately say, hey, I'd love to come, but I lost my job and I have no money, So what we did is we said, okay, we started a thing called the Pay It Forward program. And then we announced it to the chapter that, hey, we're gonna Pay It Forward program. If you find yourself in financial hardship, come to us, and then we'll work with you to make it happen. So what we did is we paid the one member's membership, and then we said, hey, when you're ready and somebody else needs the help, you're going to pay their membership. So we basically bought one membership and have carried it on between 3 people. The other person bought the next one when they got on their feet and got able to afford it. And then if another member came forward, they then paid their membership individually. So, I mean, it's one small little thing, but sometimes it can help for people that are, kind of, in a tough spot. The other member was, or the other idea was, we use Eventbrite for the majority of our events. And so, it's a free ticket, and the member, usually has a password, and then they get their ticket. We want to open up 10, tickets where we charge $20 for non-members, right, to come to these cool events. Oh, you're getting free Patron and a lunch and a backpack. I mean, that's worth $20 to a lot of people. So it's $25 or whatever they pay. And then the idea would be, well, guess what? You just went to 5 events and you paid $25 5 times. So there's your membership. The difficult part with that is saving that money, putting it aside for that one individual. So we haven't figured that piece out. Seems a little complicated. So anyway, those are two. Like I said, the one is kind of a not quite out of the oven yet, and then the other one I've seen in practice. So just wanted to offer that out there as possible solutions. And
awesome.
We do a similar thing in the Charlotte chapter with the paying for it if you're not coming. It's kind of incentivize people to just pay for it.
That's awesome. I have one thing to add, and then I was going to do a little bit of kind of structural stuff for Paula specifically, and then I'll do kind of a roll call just to see if people have any thoughts or comments. Jen, I know your voice isn't feeling well, so if you want to text or chat, I'm happy to voice for you. And then David, I'll ask you, you're on deck, so I'll ask you what your thoughts are around recruitment, membership. We're talking about dues, but there's lots of other ways of talking about recruiting and retaining people too. So, and then I'll work my way around. So the one thing I was going to add, just as an idea, which is kind of like paying it forward, and I have no idea if this is even applicable, but one of the organizations I work with was having some pretty financial hardships, and so they created 2 different programs, mostly that helps people who have the money. So like 125 is not hard. You have the ability of one paying what's called an all access pass. And so you pay a significantly higher fee, but then you have access to all of the programming. It includes registration for any in-person events. And and you can do anything you want to for that particular membership year. You have access to anything and everything. So as an example, maybe it would pay registration fees for like the regional conferences. To be honest, I don't even know if the regional conferences have a registration fee, but if it included all 5 registration fees, the likelihood of someone going to all 5 is very slim. So then you actually end up, the organization can kind of make money because people can't always attend everything unless you're me, and then you go to every single thing because I already paid for it. So that's an option. The other thing is a program that is called the Ambassadors, where the ambassador is kind of on top of an all access pass, and they get to pick sliding scale how much money, and that money goes directly towards paying it forward, membership dues, registration fees, etc. So then there's kind of an additional bucket. So I wanted to make sure I said those things. And then the kind of pause is just some structure. So Paula, just so you know, we've talked on the phone. Jo Beth is the person who's been texting you, so she's on the call.
Okay.
She's kind of helping with communications. Raul is our national board liaison to the Fuck Shit Up committee, and is currently in Tucson at the regional conference. I'm coming there tonight. I'm in Phoenix currently. Colleen and Cole, who are on the call, are also on the national board. We're on the Fuck Shit Up committee the last couple of years and are now here as guests, as co-chairs of the membership committee. Alina, Jen, Jo Beth, and David have been on the Fuck Shit Up committee at least last year, if not the preceding years as well. And Paula is one of the fresh blood recruits out of the New York chapter. Very excited to have you. So I just wanted to make sure that that got named. So I'll go to David, and then Paula, your finger was up. So see if you have any thoughts. And just for the record, it can be about money and dues, or you can bring up something that's completely different, because the question on the table is around what are some other ideas, outside of the box ideas around recruitment of members to USBG, generally speaking, for the membership committee. So David, I'll come to you, and then Paula, you're next. David, do you have any thoughts or comments?
Yeah, so that I definitely love to hear about the ideas of just trying to run the finances of it all. I think it's very important to bring up, but I like the idea of, trying to go to just different bars and seeing if they would like to host an event there, or even use the space to have a meeting at, just bars that you usually wouldn't go to that may seem interested. Just I happen to notice, like, when you go to certain events that others are hosting, that especially when it's a bar I've never been to or anything like that, I can see the look in the staff's eyes. They seem very intrigued to like what we're talking about and what we're doing. So just I think keeping that in mind when hosting those events is very, very important.
Excellent. And the kind of, ideally, the next topic we'll talk about after this will actually get to venues as well for that kind of toolkit that we were putting out. So Paula, general thoughts, comments, ideas, anything? And then Jo Beth, I'll come for you next. You don't have to turn your video on, but you'll be next. Go ahead, Paula.
Well, we just had a meeting the other day on Sunday. We're also varying the days of the meeting. It's not always going to be Mondays. It's going to be Sunday, Monday, or Tuesday. But brands are sponsoring scholarships. We had 3 brands were at the meeting that would sponsor members who couldn't afford it, or members in need. Like who just did it? Fernet just did it. I think one was Bacardi, and Barrows and Tents. So they would pay for a full year of a new member to get in. So that seemed, people more excited. We are keeping track, which they never really used to. It was, people were just bringing 5 friends to come to drink, but we're getting a list. And now even some of the events, what you were saying before is members are free, but they're checking. You have to pay $25 if you're a non-member. And we're also kind of keep track of non-members coming in. It's not going to be, okay, this is your 3rd meeting, why haven't you joined? Thing like that. We're also trying to expand it and diversify, and not just going to the bars that everybody knows, you know, expand to different areas. See if we can do something in the Bronx. And some people, you know, they get like, oh, well, I'm not a well-known bartender. Oh, I've never had a drink published. I've never done this. It's like, no, we're getting like bartenders from Irish pubs to join now. I mean, maybe New York is a bit different than other areas, but you don't have to be a bartender who's put their name on the map to join. You know, we're trying to let people know it's open to everybody. And to let, you know, people know there is inclusion. Obviously, you know, we got a bad rap for what happened a few years ago, and just letting people know. And I've introduced myself as you know, the Fuck Shit Up committee at every meeting. And everybody's letting people know if you have an issue, you have to let people, you know, let people know. Don't be afraid. It doesn't have to come public. And I even said, if anybody has anything to say, please let me know and I'll pass it on. But, you know, we had, I think, 60 at the meeting the other day. It's not huge, but, you know, it's something compared to, you know, what we were. And I think we're growing and people seem to be excited again. But the fact that brands will sponsor, and then they also said for renewing, if you renew by, I guess, a certain date, you get a year and a half for a year. That was brought up as well, because people were even asking, well, can you pay for 3 years in advance? But if you did that, what type of discount could you get? But the year and a half thing got people a little bit more excited. And there just seems to be now a lot more enthusiasm again. And we have a great board. And I think we're building a great chapter. We're doing a lot of events coming up and we're always talking at events.
Excellent. And Paula, I think Cole had mentioned that was a July date, I think. And then Colleen had mentioned, I think the code is April 22. Am I getting that right, Colleen or Cole?
I'm so sorry.
I was just trying to like say that the date to renew by a year and a half, to get a year and a half, I think is July.
That's July.
That's July?
And that's more to capture new members than because, you know, somebody who like they start the heavy lifting of the rejoins in October. So because in theory, if you're already a member, you're good through this year. So like that's what we hit them hard in spring with a deep discount code or $25 off to rejoin in spring, but that is open to new members as well. So like right now they could join for 100.
Well, I'll let the board know that too, because that's also, you know, important. We could put a thing out that can be for everybody. Okay.
There's a big banner about it on .org, and there's PDFs and things that they can copy. Like they made it accessible so that they can just pull it and repost it on their own social medias. But then the July one's really kind of geared towards the new member. And getting
member can't use it, because I think what they were saying, sorry to interrupt that, I think it was anytime, so I'll just say that's only for new members for a year and a half because they were old members and it was the way it came across that.
Well, no, I mean, if they're old members who haven't re-upped for the year, you know, then yes, like if they haven't paid, but if they're going to continue to go to meetings and if you guys are charging them meetings, you know, they're just going to keep paying money into that same system, you know?
Right. We haven't charged at meetings, but events, you know, that we are charged, but they are keeping track. It's not like, well, like I said, like this is your third meeting and you come for free and you still have it and you get bracelet, you know, like pink bracelets are members, green aren't, and they're noticing like, and they're really keeping track on spreadsheets. Okay, if this is the person's third time, you really just can't keep coming for free. And why, you know, because some people try to do that.
Yeah, there's the ad hoc discount codes that the chapters have. They're assigned a couple based on their size, and those are 25% off. Those are available to the chapter leaders all the time. And then in October, we start, I think that they've started, and I think they'll continue with it, is that if you rejoin early, so if you've been a member through this whole year and you want to rejoin early, and you join back up in October, you get a little bit of a discount for rejoining early in October. So
yeah, they did that last year, I think, when I rejoined. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's definitely some pretty big stuff there. Also, if you have like my restaurant, we pay for our employees to join Usbg just because we think that there's a lot of value in our staff joining. Now there's group memberships, and it's under Guildhouse, but there's group memberships where depending on how many people you have, it's like if it's 5 people join from the same restaurant, it's 20% off for that. If it's 10, it's 25, and it kind of goes up from there. Where if you're in a restaurant where you have a large concentration of members, they could join under Guildhouse, and it does create a much the more people you have, the deeper the discount is on that.
Yeah, we
So-
mentioned that at the meeting too. Like if you had a whole group, but you know, if you're a hotel or you're a large restaurant group or a percentage, that you would get a discount at that as well. That's great.
What chapter are you in?
I'm in New York. I'm in New York City.
Okay.
Excellent. So Cole, you just turned your video on, so I didn't know if you had something to add. And then Joe Beth, I'll come for you. And then Jen, in a good way. And then Jen, I'll read your comments in the chat. And then Alina, you're on deck. And we've just been joined by Brandon Casey, which I think is the person that Raul said, holy shit, I just talked to somebody about this thing and maybe they'll show up. And I think they showed up. So Cole, we'll go to you. And Brandon, just hang out, chill out. We're talking about membership. The Cole and Colleen are the co-chairs of the membership committee. And we're just having a fuck shit up committee about ways of recruiting new or different people. And the kind of first big topic has been financial barriers of membership. And then it's also kind of trickled into different kinds of venues and different kinds of members. And that's where we'll head it as soon as we get around with all the different comments. Cole, do you have something you want to add? So just turn your video on.
Sort of. I just wanted to note, Paula, hi, I don't think we met before. My name's Cole.
Hi, no, how are you?
Nice to meet you as well. I just wanted, the New York chapter has been kind of in a limbo for a long time, in part because of the
Right.
controversies, for lack of a better term, and in part because of the same kind of the malaise that struck chapters across the country. The membership is down quite a bit. But the New York chapter has grown significantly just this year, just in the first few months of the year. And I think just wanted to give kudos. I was on a call yesterday, maybe the day before, with Trish, who's also on your board. And
Yeah, she's a good friend of mine. Yeah.
Good. Yeah, and she's like the way that y'all have been really energetic, going out, tapping people,
Busting her butt.
getting new members into the
Yeah.
organization, getting old members back into the organization has
Yep.
been really inspiring for me. So I hope is that as an organization we bottomed out after this past year. All the members who've been sort of pushed through because of COVID for year
Right.
after year for those last couple of years, they've left. And right now, what we have is a really energetic and dedicated base of membership to grow from. And y'all are an example of how we can really do that just by getting boots on the ground, going to talk to people and making it happen. So thank you.
Yeah, you can see the excitement at meetings. You can see, and everything's very transparent, and there's just a really good energy. You know, there really is, and people are really interested, you know, in joining. They really, really are.
We are planning, and y'all are probably in a good position to take advantage of this if it does matriculate. We're planning on boosting the referral bonuses. So right now there's a program where the person who gets the most referred members to the guild, to now it's been just like free t-shirt kind of swag. You know, it's not really been a program that we've invested a lot in. But I think we're going to start doing deeper discounts, maybe subsidizing travel to some of the regional events, things like that. So hopefully that'll incentivize other chapters to do what y'all are doing.
I didn't even know about a referral bonus. You know.
Yeah, I mean, you're just doing it because it's the right thing to do. But I think, you know, sometimes people respond well to specific financial incentives.
100%. So that could be something. Did you talk to Trish about that, or?
What was that?
Did you talk to Trish about referral bonuses? Because
she brought it up. We were on a office hours call.
Okay.
That's something that I'd love y'all to know about. Every Monday at 1 o'clock Central Time. So y'all do the math there. The one member of the national staff and at least one member of the national board, often me, will hop on a call and just open air, right? Anything that any members, any of the local leaders, mostly it's for leadership, but really anyone can join. So if you ever want to just have a conversation like this, there's an opportunity every Monday to sort of just shoot the shit with the national.
I thought it was just like a board member thing, because I'm like somebody.
No, it's everybody. But it's sort of designed to be a conduit between the chapter leadership and the national leadership. But if you have an active member who really wants to talk to the national leadership too, they're welcome to join as well.
Okay, that's good to know.
Excellent. So Joe Beth and then Alina, I was going to come for you, and then we're going to kind of switch it to a little bit about kind of diversifying some of the venues for programming and or membership, which kind of goes to what David had said out loud and what I'll read from Jen. So Joe Beth and then Alina. Joe Beth, do you have any thoughts or comments you want to add about membership?
Just kind of ties into the second thing that Jen wrote in the chat. I'm not on the board anymore in Chicago, so I'm not really sure what is going on now, but I know that we had printed off basically business cards. To Jen's point, I don't know if anybody else saw the chat, but she was like, a huge barrier to membership is people not knowing that we even exist. And yes, that is true. So we had business cards basically that everybody on the board got. And so when we could be out and about, we could just strike up a conversation wherever we were, you know, bar or restaurant, and then we could give them the business card and be like, hey, you know, here it is. Here's our website. I told you about this. If we knew about the next meeting, you know, our next meeting is such and such. And we allow people to come for like 1 to 2 free meetings, to, you know, at least one free meeting to see what it's all about. And I don't know what's going on with that now. And then also, I think we had talked about implementing it in the before times, because we had talked about it here at the very beginning of the committee life, about having events in more diverse spaces. So that was something that we had discussed internally about, let's make sure that we are getting into communities that normally don't see us, number one, and focusing more on BIPOC owned and run event spaces.
Excellent. And Alina, before I come to you, Jen, I'm going to read both of your comments just because Brandon joined after, so they're not going to be in the chat for Brandon, and I don't know what device Brandon's calling in on, so I might not even have access to the chat. So Jen posted into the chat on a similar note to what David had said. I'm paraphrasing. Our chapter has discussed and committed to holding meetings in BIPOC-owned spaces with food from BIPOC-owned companies. In addition, we're making efforts to host meetings in new spaces, as we have been in similar spaces for many years. Then she continues, I've also tried to get us to put together a postcard type advertisement and hit the ground to drop them in spaces where we don't have members or don't fit our general membership prototype. I think an average barrier to membership is knowing that we exist. I don't think the average bartender is aware of our org and why they would benefit from joining. Love the group idea. I did also put in the chat, and I'll put it in again, Brandon, just in case you have access, that toolkit that I'm kind of vaguely referencing. We came up with a list of all different kinds of venues that may or may not be in a community. And we came up with a list of audience members that may or may not be in that community. So like for Paula, for example, is talking very specific about New York chapter and what the New York chapter is doing. I also want to encourage you that for the Fuck Shit Up committee, you're bringing your experience, but you're also bringing your ideas. So there may be an idea in the New York chapter and the New York chapter is like, no, we can't do it. But the Fuck Shit Up committee is the place then to say that idea, because it might be applicable bigger and larger than kind of your own perspective. But I totally appreciate everything you're coming. I just want to like remind everyone that like there's 36 chapters. There's the national board members. Raul is our national board liaison. And then all of the different committees and task force that are happening, all of this information is going out to the right person in the right committee. So this is kind of the vortex of kind of next steps. So I'm gonna let Alina go, and then I'll read the lists of kind of the venues and the audiences, and then take frantic notes of what else may come up around kind of different populations that are being not served and or very underserved, if not overlooked, around membership recruitment, but also membership retention when it comes to programming and things like that too. So before I do that though, Alina, I wanted to give you a chance. Any thoughts or comments you wanted to add in?
I mean, this sounds good. I'd certainly like to see an expansion and more access to a scholarship program, especially if that can include things beyond just membership to our organization. Like I know a lot of other scholarship funds are out there for things like, you know, different educational opportunities or travel opportunities that are also a financial barrier, even if it just means missing a few days of work, which many people can never do. and to be able to expand that also as a way of saying, yeah, we care about our community. We want people to be able to have access to these things, whether it's, Camp Run Amok or something we run or something we don't run. Because I think those things are really important as networking opportunities and certain, badges that give people career opportunities to advance within our industry that, I've personally had financial barriers and not been able to take off work to participate in things and would love additional support beyond just membership to our organization.
Awesome. Excellent. Okay, I'm going to read aloud the list that the toolkit committee kind of came up with. First, I'm just going to read from like populations of people that could be targeted for either co-programming, invitations to attend an event, and or sources of potential new members. This list is randomly picked from a raucous conversation we had, and I just took notes. And if you have anything to add, you can put it into the chat, or that'd probably be the easiest thing, so then I can transfer it over to the list. So no particular order, places to pull membership recruitment from and or people to attend the programs that are offered on a local, like chapter level, regional level, or national level. So city councils, tourism board, urban league, NAACP, chambers of commerce, or specific populations. Sometimes there's a LGBT chamber of commerce or Black entrepreneur chamber of commerce, something like that. YWCA or YMCA, Rotary, Kiwanis, Veterans of Foreign Wars, Elk Club, catering companies, Junior League, formerly incarcerated, veterans, homeless placement, wedding or event planners, DJs, mobile bartending, rural, suburban, urban, downtown. I think that's a particularly important one. We had this big conversation about geography because you're really familiar with where you're at. So then what of rural, suburban, urban, and downtown, which of the ones are you not at? Because you could go there, right? Because we kind of just think about our own comfort zones often because it's easy. Community centers, recreational centers, neighborhood or community clubs, places of worship, college, universities, or community colleges. So that's just some example of some population groups to be thinking about or identifying, connecting, reaching out to in your own local community and telling them that, hey, by the way, we're with the USBG chapter, we exist. Then as far as places, these places, one could be for membership recruitment, two, places to possibly recruit for venues for programs or to do programs in your kind of local communities, regional community, national level. Like you have to think of all three at once. Distillery, breweries, tap rooms, wine, beer bars, dive bars, pool halls, bowling alleys, sports bars, hotel bars, resorts, strip clubs, gay bars, high-end fine dining, cocktail, late night venues, brunch venues, chain bars and restaurants, corporate happy hours, coffee bars, entertainment venues, live music, theater, sports, festivals, cultural districts, venues, galleries, museums, park and gardens, farmers markets, bartending schools, barista, coffee roasters, training programs, lodging bureaus, convention centers, alumni rooms, private country clubs, golf clubs, yachts, etc. Just to give you some examples of some of the stuff that we have come up with. So, and then Reza is dropping in, so perfect. Great. As Reza's audio is joining, Brandon, I know that you're on your phone. Welcome. You are a very recent recruit by Raul, and we never want to waste an engaged member who wants to come and play. This is the Fuck Shit Up Committee, and we currently have guests from the membership committee, Cole and Colleen, who are co-chairs. They're also national board members. You've met Raul, and he's our national board liaison. My name is Jessica. I'm the DEI consultant that works with USBG. And everybody else is somebody who is deeply committed to fucking shit up, I think is a good summary of everyone. The topic at hand, Reza, since you are now here, is Cole and Colleen are visiting from the membership committee. So we're talking about membership recruitment, We've talked about financial barriers, possible sponsorships, renewals. Now we're kind of getting into diversifying programming venues and diversifying Jen used the word prototype. I challenged the board to come up with an avatar of all the different types of members of what could be for USBG. So that's kind of the conversation that we're having currently. So Brandon, I'm going to toss it out to you and see if you have any thoughts or ideas specifically about this topic. And then I've invited you in the chat, if you can see it, to send me an email, because Raul also mentioned you had a lot of other ideas, so I can add them to future agendas and get them fucked up as well. So Brandon, do you have any thoughts or comments? Your audio is connecting. Here he comes. Bum, 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 bum. It's still connecting. They're little bouncing dots. David is also having some technical issues, but will hopefully be here shortly. While that is loading, as soon as I give it to Reza, Brandon's audio will come in. So I'm going to tease the universe and say, Reza, welcome to the meeting. Do you have any thoughts or comments about membership, membership recruitment, undoing any hurdles or obstacles standing in the way of membership recruitment? Go, Reza.
Thanks. That's a big question, as I'm just shifting from work to this discussion topic. Honestly, we've always done a decent job of doing in the field, hand-to-hand recruitment. But I think as a general program or as an overall, like overarching national endeavor, it's been a challenge. We seem to recruit well from within our own ranks and people who are USBG aficionados, but not as much from the general or the outlying people throughout various markets in the US. You know, I mean, USBG generally has had messaging issues in years past as well. So, I mean, I don't have a brilliant campaign or program to pitch now, as I, you know, as like I said, I'm new to this topic in this exact forum, but certainly not to the issue overall years past. I like the idea of what various committees have presented in years past of going far and above our comfort zone of mixology and the craft cocktail community, diversifying not just in the forms of people and who they are and their points of origin, but their experience, their markets, and their level, the extent of their time within the industry. Besides that overarching goal, circle back with me in an hour or in days to follow as far as something uniquely genius to present to the group. And let's work on it collectively, obviously.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you, Reza, for joining. Jason is also inbound. Brandon, your audio is back up or functioning now. Do you have any, welcome to your first Fuck Shit Up meeting. Do you have any thoughts or comments about membership or membership recruiting?
My audio should be working. I think it's working. Is it working?
Perfect. You sound amazing.
Yay. Yeah. Someone told me 11 o'clock, so I just woke up. I blame daylight saving time and Raul.
No, it was actually originally at 11, and then we changed it to 10 because my life got complicated. So Raul is technically not wrong. It just
wow, for once.
Yeah, technically not wrong. Just not the most recent email. You're fine. Welcome.
No worries. Thank you so much for having me.
Sure.
Raul and I had a quick conversation last night. I'm down to fuck shit up. Been in and or around a board member, president, blah, 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 for over 10 years. And I just feel in my bones our organization, we're becoming invalid. We're out of the loop. We're losing members left and right. It's frustrating to see.
Sure. So do you have any random thoughts or ideas on recruiting techniques while we have the co-chairs of the membership committee? They are up to their eyeballs dealing with that exact issue. Do you have any thoughts or comments, or even some of your other experiences, ideas, or things that have worked on recruiting a more diverse group, renewing policies. We've talked a lot about some of the finances, scholarship, and then I read off a list of kind of the ideas of different pockets of people in your community to be working out, reaching out to for recruitment, but also for like programming venues, etc. Any thoughts, Brandon?
We've never had a huge problem, I mean, with getting people to pay. Our most recent problem was everybody expiring on the same date with basically no communication. So we went from, I think, like 130 members to like 30.
What
And
chapter are you
now
in, Brandon?
I'm Phoenix.
Got it. Okay.
So yeah, our next problem is going to be convincing these people to pay, I guess, essentially more, because their last one didn't run as far as they thought it was going to. And, you know, there wasn't a shitload of value during the Rona. And so now they're like, hey, I already have Rona, I can go back out, there's events and stuff. And they're like, wait, why did my membership expire? I mean, the communication there, in my opinion, if anybody knows I'm wrong, was incredibly poor. And even like my wife, like, she upped hers, I think in October, and it was expired by January. And I have no idea why. And she didn't either. So, like, I had to basically convince her, like, we're losing membership. So, like, convince her, like, personally to, like, rejoin. And she's not even a bartender. She's a professional member. So I think our biggest challenge for my chapter is going to be convincing these people, like, that we have value. We're valid still within our community and within our industry. Because, honestly, they don't see the value add, like, nationally, or, like, there's 25 guests at this regional convention right now. That is pathetic. Like, it's embarrassing. But like the Phoenix chapter, we only have 30 now, so like convincing these cats to come back and pay is going to be like our next biggest one. I like the idea, kind of the incentive program, like I guess almost like recruitment bonus. I had never heard that. I think that was was that Boston that was doing that?
I don't know.
Somebody mentioned it, like, even if it was just swag or like we're getting somebody on, there was kind of like a.
Some individual chapters do their own like referral bonuses for sure. Cole and I are working. One of our things that we're actively working on with the membership committee nationally is basically making those referral bonuses better at the national level, and essentially breaking them up so we have quarterly winners who win a smaller prize, and then an annual winner, whoever brings in the most over the course of the year, gets a substantially better prize, be it a free trip to regionals or their membership dues paid for the next year, something like that. We're noodling on it, but that is something that is really kind of in our high line that we're actively working on right now for membership.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I never heard of any other chapter kind of doing something like that. I think that's a really
you said your wife, her membership didn't roll over to the next year. She joined as an associate member or as an enthusiast member?
Probably associate.
Is she in
yeah, like
a brand?
Huh?
Does she work for a brand?
Yes.
That's why. So the regular, like our core membership, the bartenders membership, the hospitality professionals in October, those roll into the next year. But this last year, and it may change this last year, the associate memberships did not roll through. And I'm not sure why, but that's probably why hers didn't and yours might have.
I think mine might have just been up, so I just re-upped mine. But I mean, we had, 30 some odd associate members in our chapter. Now we have like one. Because even the brand folks, they don't see the value. And, she works for, she's the state marketing manager for Diageo. And, she's like even having problems like on a national level, even as a national partner. Like, why the fuck do we even have to deal with you guys? It's a mess.
Diageo is one of our biggest platinum partners, but one of the things that we talked about earlier, but it is now available to them too, is if say they, I'm sure Diageo has a lot of reps in market, they can also join into that group market, that group rate. so that they could, if they had a bunch of people in their office and they wanted to join them all into your chapter, they could join under a group rate at a pretty decent discount as well, to try to get your associate members built back in. And I don't know, we have some things that have worked well in the past, and I'm happy to go into detail about that in a little bit, but to help to bring them back. But there is that piece there where they can, like somebody like big like Diageo or Beams or whatever, they have multiple people in market that could join the USBG, that they could also get that group rate.
And Brandon, I would throw out, and then Jason, I'm going to ask you if you have any ideas, because you just joined us, about membership recruitment. Any ideas, because our guests are here from the membership committee, Cole and Colleen, who said, by the way, they were just going to be here for like 15 minutes. No, you're not. It's the Fuck Shit Up committee. Welcome. But Jason, if you have any ideas, but Brandon, I want to make sure that you know too, that I would also recommend reaching out to the Council of Chapters, because they may have some suggestions generally that you're not the only chapter experiencing attrition or renewal discounts or confusion about what happened with the dues last year, et cetera. So your Council of Chairs might be a helpful resource, and that's headed up by Jen out of New Orleans and Gio out of Boston, I believe. So Paula, you had your hand up, and then I'll go to
Sorry,
Jason.
our other chapters, I know we've been doing a good job of having brand sponsored events. Obviously, the brands have to pay for the food and, or in the places, anything like that. I mean, it seems like other areas are having issues with brands even joining. Maybe New York, I guess we're getting back to again, and a lot of people have a really good relationship with brands. Or has anybody else mentioned doing brand scholarships if you do have good relationship with brands to get members in? Like we just, like I said, had 3 the other day, 3 brands just at one meeting. It's just an incentive, and people, it's now like we're not for a while. And I don't know if it happened with every chapter where it's like, great, we have a meeting. What else are you offering? And we're doing a lot of different things. We have something coming up with the Dead Rabbit with Noah Rothmeld and, Dave Wondrich. We have another Serbian liquor brand that's really unusual. They're sponsoring something as well at EO. So I think that's more, that's what happened with us when things went down and people are like, okay, great, we had meetings, we barely had meetings, but what else are you offering? And I think when people see stuff like this, it's more an incentive for them to join, just in general.
Excellent. We are also being joined, Jason. This is Jason's first Fuck Shit Up committee meeting as well, so welcome. We are, and then someone has just joined us from an iPhone, but I don't know who that is. I'm hoping it's David. But the Cole and Colleen, I'm going to invite us to kind of like put a pin in membership relatively shortly, but I want to make sure the 2 new folks get a chance to chat. So Jason, the topic at hand is membership in general. So Colleen and Cole are the co-chairs of the membership committee, and they kind of put a question out to the universe of the Fuck Shit Up committee of what kind of ideas or thoughts do you have around diversifying membership recruitment, getting people to join, building up USBG brand awareness to people who don't even know about the USBG. I put into the chat a list of some of the different types of venues that might be helpful on a chapter level, but also kind of on a national level of places to be looking and recruiting members. Is totally fine, Jason, if you're like, I just got here, I have no idea what the fuck you're talking about. But if you do, I want to give you a chance to voice an idea before Cole and Colleen have to leave us. And Cole and Colleen, you are more than welcome to stick around as well. I just knew that we were well over your 15 minutes thought that you were going to only be here. So Jason, do you have any thoughts or comments?
I do. This is actually what I'm focusing on with work right now. I am trying to get every person behind all of our bars, the USBG membership, to the group rate. The issues that I'm having and that I'm finding with it, there's no, for the business, like you put up that and offer that educational incentive. There's nothing, the USBG really doesn't do anything other than the guild list to kind of help us do that. And I don't really think the guild list is enough. Is the guild list then the list that USBG presidents and partners are specifically using to host events at venues? You know what I mean? Like, so I'm doing what I can to make all of the people in our employ members and just keep our chapter going that way. I just found out, I just started reaching out to brands to sponsor that. But my struggle as all this relates to me is I just don't think there's enough coming from the group rate membership, like for the business.
Other people's thoughts or comments? I don't know those are kind of details. So
I know exactly what you're saying. So I was really I really pushed to get Guildhouse going. And I pushed so hard that I made sure that my bar was the first one to get on it. It was really just something I've been working on with MEMCOM and the board for a while. And so right now it is, because it is brand new, I think it launched a little late in this year, because a lot of people, like if you are a bar, you probably had already done your rejoins for your bartender members. But it is something that is getting kind of, it's not there yet, because it is such a new program. It did just launch back in January. But where I think the board and the different committees are actually looking at it from a lot of different angles. So they are, I know EdCom is working on education pieces, and National Committee and the staff is like strategizing on that end of like the what else do you get aside from just being on the guild list. I think just getting it up was kind of a pretty big boon, and like I said, in my opinion, it came out a little late, but that's just kind of how these things are. But we are actively talking about, actively seeking, actively working on the sort of the what's in it for me end of Guildhouse. But also still remembering that that we want, to make sure that I think Cole has a better way of putting it, but we want to make sure that we remember that the members themselves, the bartenders, are the people that we are trying to, put our best energies into, as opposed to, like, say we got a huge national guild house that had, was going to bring a whole lot of people in, but making sure that we didn't like lose sight of the individual member experience, trying to sell to, huge companies. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, to speak to that is that if the money starts coming in from bar owners and from brands instead of coming in from individual members, then it could, in theory, if we aren't aware of that and actively working to mitigate some of the effects of that, it could change our incentive. Because if our customer in that case, and it seems icky sometimes to think of our members as customers, but they are paying money to the organization in return for the services that we offer. So they are our customers. But if our customers change from the members themselves to their bosses, then it could change the incentive of the organization to cater to the needs of the bosses rather than the needs of the individual bartenders. It's not something that is automatically going to happen, but if we aren't aware of it, as more and more of our members come from these group memberships, then if we don't work to make sure it doesn't happen, it will, is my fear, at least. It's too soon to say one way or another, but I think making sure that the chapters are aware of that. So every time I talk about the group memberships, I try to reiterate that point, is that we don't want to lose focus that the people that we're really trying to serve here are the individual members, not the people that may be paying for their memberships as owners.
Right. Alina, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what I was going to say, is that, like, as someone that spent a considerable amount of time volunteering for a leadership position, I want to make sure that this stays focused on members and individual workers. And I know part of the reason this committee is even here is that our organization was swinging in a direction where the brands that sponsored our events were making decisions about programming and venues and what we were doing for our members, and that was serving the brands rather than our membership. So to just be very conscious of, yes, our individual members being the focus of the programming we offer.
Mm-hmm. And I appreciate that, because I also think that it came up in the conversations around this kind of toolkit, which is this list I kind of keep adding into the chat as people join so that you can look at it. The idea originally with the membership committee was to really look at different places within each community. So, I mean, even a chapter can represent multiple towns and cities and things like that, states, even depending on where you are talking about in the United States. And to create a tool that each individual chapter leadership group could look at to take an inventory of their own local communities, so that these decisions are not kind of outsourced to the biggest company with the most money, but to really hone in on the local level and the diversity, no pun intended, but literally the diverse venues, places that are applicable for USBG membership, what hospitality means, those kind of broader definitions within your local communities. So I put in the chat, clearly not an exhaustive yet very, very long list of different types of venues for local folks to be looking at or inventorying in their own local community, as well as kind of different constituencies or communities that you could potentially be inventorying. The idea was to create a tool to be able to help people engage in different people to invite and different places to host these events. So in addition to the level of sponsorships or guest invites or something, is to also be able to really recruit from your local communities. And if all 36 chapters were actually doing that, then all of the membership of USBG would be significantly more diverse. The venues that hosted programs would be significantly more diverse. And then the avatars, or to use Jen's language, kind of the prototype of the typical member, becomes significantly more multifaceted, because there's different kinds of members from different venues, from different aspects of what hospitality is. So I wanted to make sure that, and the kind of two topics that we're hoping to talk about in today's Fuck Shit Up meeting, one is the guest for membership, but the other one is kind of parlaying into this toolkit. When we came up with these lists, the idea was then to pilot it on a local level, and that's really where it stopped. And I think, kind of to Alina's point, what happens is that, and the NCC has been using this language about kind of avoiding the easy yeses, is that this actually is going to take initiative and work, and it will change as venues change and people change. But beginning to really broaden the understanding of your own local community keeps the focus on membership and programming local. Even if it's being financed on kind of a larger level, you really, specifically from a local level, need to be serving your local communities. So the toolkit was created in this kind of nebulous way, but then it actually is going to take work for volunteers who are not paid to really inventory their local communities. It's not the first time this kind of initiative has happened, but it is also not the first time that it has gotten stifled, because it takes a lot of work to reach out to people that you don't know, or venues you're not familiar with, in parts of your own town or neighborhood or state or region that you're not familiar with. But that's how to keep it local. Alina put in the chat also, Diego does not, oh, that's that thing, Diageo, that's a new word to me, not Diego. Diageo does not need discount rates. Large restaurant groups don't need discounts. There's a way to do group rates that focus on workers rather than businesses that are well-resourced. Excellent point. Other thoughts or comments in general about membership, and or possibly this kind of toolkit idea of diversifying who to invite, who to host, who to include on local programming levels? Paula.
Well, I mean, it's different because you're in New York, you're not driving. And I know months ago they were talking about, well, what about Staten Island, or what about parts of the Bronx to get bartenders from there? I mean, for those who aren't from New York, Staten Island, you got to take a ferry or a bus or whatever, even though we'd like those members to get members that are in the other boroughs to go out there. It's just probably not going to happen, because you're not, it takes effort. Most of the places you'd have to drive to, and people concerned about, say, certain areas of the Bronx, especially everything going out, it's safety in parts of Harlem as well. Is the area safe to go to? What if something's at night? How do I get home? How far is it from the subway? And I don't know how it is like in other parts of the state. So you having, you know, in certain towns, certain areas of a city, oh, I don't really want to go there, even though you really want to get some of the bartenders in there. That's a bit of an issue, you know, for us.
Sure.
We
And a lot of
struggle-
times safety comes with realities, and also safety comes with a lot of bias around particular places, the unknown, right? And
Right.
that's something that has to be worked out on kind of a local level.
Right.
Which, I mean, that's literally why I have job security, is nobody wants to do that kind of work, because you have to acknowledge your own biases and also acknowledge that what's safe for someone isn't safe for someone else, which is also very different than what is comfortable and uncomfortable for someone else.
I mean, you know, our chapter is diversified, but like I said, as far as going to an area in Midtown, or even when I tell people, you know, to be near public transportation, like I guess you guys drive, we don't, but it has to be near a subway. What area is it in? I don't know if other chapters have, well, I don't want to go to that part of the city or the town, or any issues of that sort.
We have issues with that in Charlotte because we have very poor public transportation, and we are a fairly large city that we have a hard time getting our members to go basically more than 3 miles from Center City. The reason being that that's when the cost of Uber start to get very high. You know, you start looking at, you know, going to a meeting, but oh, I've got to spend, you know, $25 on Ubers. And it becomes difficult. So, you know, the local chapter here tries to, you know, come up with good ways of like carpooling and stuff like that. But it does take down attendance, which, you know, it's a problem everywhere.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I added into the chat a link to a Google Doc that is all of the information that we put together for this toolkit. You are welcome to look at it and browse around. What I would invite is the very first tab is kind of an annual timeline that the group put together. The idea is to kind of think about what kind of programming timelines could happen in an annual way, so that you could actually, I know, heaven forbid, begin to plan programs like 3 to 4 months in advance, to try to create kind of a programming tool. Not everybody has the skills or the experience of planning programs. There's a lot of information in this shared sheet, but you are welcome to kind of look at it. I would suggest adding comments instead of adding directly to the sheet, just because there's a lot of people who have access to the sheet. You're welcome to email me any particular thoughts or comments you have around the toolkit. But I think one of the biggest things about membership is the people who are planning membership and programming on the local level really have to get out of their comfort zone. And it's the hardest position to really hold someone into, because their kind of job is to be generally uncomfortable. That's where your flaming extroverts come in super handy, because the more weird or unknown, the kind of more comfortable they get. But are they the best salesperson for the USBG, or the best kind of recruitment tool for the chapter, is something else you need to think about. I know in Jacksonville, for the leadership forum, I facilitated a panel on volunteering, which I'll be doing tomorrow in Tucson and every Wednesday of all the regional conferences. And I'm kind of gleaning that information about what struggles people are having that are in chapter leadership on working with volunteers and members to kind of get out of that kind of comfort zone. So if you like to look at the Google Sheet, you're more than welcome to. Any kind of last comments or ideas specific to membership recruitment, diversifying programming, creating planning toolkits or programming toolkits for anyone? I am not seeing any.
Maybe just because I'm thinking about this now, like how do we do like this group rate thing in a way that's more inclusive to like individual members? And I'm thinking about the pool passes in Pittsburgh, where you buy like a family pass and you can add your friends to that. You don't have to live in a household. Like, how do we make this more of a family pass? And that incentivizes a whole lot of recruitment, where people are like, oh, I get 6 memberships for this price. I have 4 friends that want to be members. Who are those other 2 people?
Yeah, I think that is, I'm not sure that it's structured that way, but I think that is definitely something that could fall into the group if you've just got a handful of friends that want to join, because there's 2 things in there. There's guild house and there's group rate. So guild house is when your bar signs up, and eventually, like Jason has done and my bar has done, is that we get our name sort of affixed to a national list of bars where you know that, like, if you travel, you can see that there's a bar that has a large percentage of USBG members in it. So you might want to go to that bar, kind of like the Squirrel Network, you know, that idea.
Yeah.
And then the group rate, I'm not positive, but it's definitely something to bring up to the staff, because I do believe that if you just had a group of people that wanted to join, I feel like there's a way to kind of do it within the group rate, which is, I don't think it's discounted quite as much as the guild house. The guild house is really centered to get bars to join, to kind of create a network of bars. But I do think that there could, if there's not already a pathway, there could be a pathway in that group rate. And that would, I'll mention it at our next meeting to see, because I'm not confident. I don't know for sure one way or the other. But that, again, that at that level, that those questions go to staff. So we have always staff on our national membership calls. So that would be how we get that question answered.
Colleen, your thing is freezing. You made it almost the whole call. Other thoughts or comments?
Sense, but I do think that there's a pathway in group rate for that.
Great. All right, well, for the sake of me now having to drive to Tucson, I was planning on ending today around 11:30, so we have about 7 minutes left. We have a couple of first timers and a brand new person, which I'm super excited about. So I do want to make sure that everyone knows that May 10th is the next Fuck Shit Up committee. It's from 11 to 1 o'clock Pacific time. So do the math on your time zone. Ingrid will be joining us from the Conflict Resolution Committee. And the idea is that we'll also talk about the Bridge Initiative for USBG, which is kind of their DEI, y'all's DEI initiative, and it's hitting all the different chapters, regions, and all the different committees and task force. We are trying to institutionalize doing the effective meeting survey. So I put the link in the chat as well. If you could please do that survey. I want to create a culture where eventually Fuck Shit Up can exist without me. And by doing the effectiveness survey, then we know kind of how the meeting is running and what's going on, whoever ends up being the leader of this. I super appreciate the raucous conversation of fucking shit up around membership. Cole or Colleen, do you have any last minute thoughts or comments that you'd like to add to the group?
Just that I'm happy that y'all are here, that y'all are engaged, that y'all are pushing us to be a better organization. It helps us a lot that y'all are willing to participate this way. So thank you.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and throw my my personal email into this, but you can also find you can find Cole and I in the membership committee on .org. If you guys just think of anything, or if joining membership committee sounds like something you want to do, we're always looking for new people to join in. And even if you don't want to join as a full-blown committee member, with all the national committees, there are full-blown committee members, and then there are, oh, I just lost it. Then there are, I just lost it. Wait, can you guys hear me?
Yep, you're fine.
Oh, okay. I lost my screen. Okay. Yeah, you can also join as like a visiting member. So like if you just want to attend MenCom meetings but don't want to have to vote and attend every single one, that the same structure works for all the national committees for the most part, where you can just see what the work's about if you want to join.
Excellent. Any last minute thoughts or comments about today's general topics? Alina, I'll start with you, and Raul, you'll be next because I know you have to go soon. Alina, any last minute thoughts or comments? Nope, sounds great. Raul, you're next, and then Paula, you any thoughts or comments? Go, Raul.
I know just from conversations with Colleen and Cole that we are definitely aware of the issues. You know, the analogy, you know, the plane lost a wing, I guess, you know, with the double hits of COVID and controversy, I suppose. But you know, we're trying to get it in the air, and you know, the work is slow, and they're at it. So I get to hear the other sides of these conversations. So I like this. This is great that we're getting this feedback.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Raul. Okay, Paula, you're next, and then Jason.
I'm just going to say it's great to be here, to be a part of it, and Paul, thanks for recognizing that we're getting our chapter, you know, back and up and running. And it's kind of nice to hear what people are doing in other chapters and just help yourself and, you know, trying to get more membership. And that's pretty much it. But it's nice to know the options as well that people have to try to help them out financially.
Excellent. Wonderful. Thank you so much, Paula, for coming to your first meeting too. Jason, you're up next, and then Brandon, talk about first meeting. You heard about this yesterday. So Jason, do you have any last minute thoughts or comments?
I do not. I'm good. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for coming. Brandon, welcome, new recruit. And then I'll go to Reza. Brandon, do you have any thoughts or comments about your very, 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 very first, no context given other than an invitation from Raul to the Fuck Shit Up committee?
I pretty much weaseled my way into it. I kind of heard there might be a thing to fuck shit up, and I was like, I'm in. I'm a monster. But yeah, no, I'm just stoked to be a part of this conversation now, and I look forward to fixing something I know that is near. It sucks we have to have this kind of group, but I'm glad we do. And I'm so stoked to be a part of it.
Well, if I can reframe the sucking of having the group, the bonus of having a Fuck Shit Up group is this is actually one of the most effective ways I have worked with associations of really checking any kind of conscious or unconscious bias that might be coming out of the national board, chapter boards, committees, or task force. Because what ends up happening, any association I work with, you kind of get used to making your own sausage. And it's always good to, before you put that out for real life, you actually give it to a whole new group of people who are like, what the fuck is this? We also, Jackie Summers is responsible for calling it the Fuck Shit Up Committee, which is not just the best recruitment tool, but also a clear and concise mission statement of what this group does. And it recruits exactly the right people who are supposed to be on it. So Brandon, thank you for coming. You unfortunately have been added to the directory. So you will now be getting texts from Joe Beth. You'll be getting emails from me. We'll do a doodle for meetings in June and July and August. And hopefully we'll see you May 10th. So you're in.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
I have an actual computer. It's just at my house in Phoenix, and I'm in Tucson.
Well, that's cool. I'm in Phoenix, so I stole your computer. And Raul did also mention that you may have some ideas of topics, so please feel free to email me or text message your ideas, and I will add them to the ever-growing list of things for agenda items. So welcome.
It'd be my pleasure.
Reza, oh, you're welcome. Reza, we'll go to you real quick. Do you have any last-minute thoughts or comments? And then Jen, I know your voice wasn't feeling well, but I want to give you a chance if you have any last-minute thoughts or comments. Go, Reza.
I'm happy to be involved. You know, it's interesting given the my time with the organization, which goes back to 2003. I have extensive experience in what some of the successes and failures and opportunities for improvement, where they lie. I have absolutely zero aspirations within the organization beyond just seeing it succeed and continue on as far as like an elected or even like a popular position or even point of opinion within the organization. So I hope to bring that experience and perspective to the table as we actually plot, plan, and execute fucking shit up.
Fantastic. Thank you. Welcome back. Jen, you in the chat said no additional comments. Nice to see everyone. I hope you feel better. I'm going to stop the recording, and then I will send an email out shortly with this recording as well as hopefully a doodle link so we can start looking at June and July, because I don't know how the hell it's already halfway through April. But I will also give you the link to do the meeting effectiveness survey so we can start getting in the habit of doing that as well. So thank you very much for joining us for April 12th. Colleen and Cole, thank you for joining from the membership committee. You're our first inaugural guests at the Fuck Shit Up. Warn Ingrid, because this is what it's going to be like next month. And next month, we'll talk with Ingrid from the Conflict Resolution Committee, and then we'll also talk about the bridge effort. So thank you very much. Thanks for fucking shit up.